is Melissa Buttermilk from the studio here in Columbus, Ohio, with the Outer Belt and my friends. Go ahead.
Eric.
Jerry.
Patrick.
Chili.
And we have some exciting stories to share today. And first and foremost, I'm going to talk about the weather because that just seems to be the way we start. The weather has gone from summer hot blazing 90-something down to mid-70s. And it was just a really lovely weekend over Labor Day. And Vince and I took advantage of that. And we got out on Sunday and took ourselves about an hour and a half drive on our motorcycle and went somewhere new. I can actually say I've been to Harlem. That's so funny. Harlem, Ohio.
Did you go to the Apollo? Oh.
Harlem, Ohio. Should you have blinked, you would have missed the only stop sign in, I guess, what was their town. But it was really fun. We went out, we explored, we saw some new sights, and just kind of out and back. I had fun.
It's a good time.
Yeah, the weather was perfect for riding. It was like really 77. Nice. There was a breeze. But yeah, we had a good time this weekend of Labor Day weekend and got to hang out with you and Eric.
I'm sorry. You were riding on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And there was a breeze.
There was quite a breeze.
Wouldn't that just be
riding the
any
motorcycle?
time you ever ride the
motorcycle?
motorcycle?
No, there's like a cross breeze.
There was a crosswind, yeah. So you cross a couple of long stretches or bridges over a couple of different rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that wide open and the breeze comes down and hits you, it kind of affects the way you ride a little bit.
Is it scary?
No, it's not scary.
Sometimes it feels like it's going to pop my helmet off.
It does. If you turn your head a certain way, yeah, it'll catch the wind a certain way. But it'll move the bike over in the lane a little bit, and you just adjust.
So it's not like drastic, like, oh, we're going to tip over.
No.
No, you just adjust.
I know when we were driving truck back in the day, we had some, like a really light-duty truck that we don't have anymore. And that thing, if you got in a valley or crossing some bridges, just so enough wind would push you over, and it was downright scary. You like had to really jump on the steering wheel and kind of finagle the truck back into place or whatever. But that's what I imagine, but it's not like that at all.
It's not like that at all. No, I used to ride when I was in California. My commute to and from work, in the afternoon going home, I went across an airport. So it's open on all sides, and it was in the high desert in California, where every afternoon the wind would pick up and blow at 25, 30 miles an hour. So I would ride home turning left the whole way, which meant that I was leaning to the left into the wind to stay straight.
Now, when you crossed through the airport, did you tell like the air traffic controller?
I did.
Not to let any airplanes go at that particular
I would
moment?
call and ask for clearance first before I rode across.
As
They would grant me clearance if it was clear. Otherwise, they'd tell me to hold
tight.
Approach stop sign at that marker and hold.
I could see that being exciting. You're on a motorcycle because you could really chase an airplane.
You could chase an airplane.
That'd be cool. I mean,
Not for very
I feel like
long.
that's a Mission Impossible movie or something.
It feels like it.
Probably 2 or 3 of them. Let's be honest. At this point,
it just was a good weekend. Labor Day was great. Hung out on the back patio with you two, you and Eric, and and it was fun. It was quick. 3-day weekend, but it went by quick.
It did. We it was a weird 3-day weekend for me, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
As all of y'all know, but maybe that the audience members know, on Thursday I had a little minor surgery. They pulled out what was essentially the size of like a small strawberry out of my arm, or not my arm, the side of my chest, underneath my arm, and then stitched me back together. They said not to worry, that Tylenol and Advil should be fine. And so I'm not going to them ever again. Those lying. And so, no, I was in quite a lot of pain Thursday night, but by Friday morning, felt great. I'm like, okay, I could do this. Not such a big deal. Stayed on my pain medication, set my alarm, made sure I took my pain medication, and it was literally Tylenol and Advil. I didn't get any codeine, which makes me sick, so I wouldn't have got that anyways. But like any other pain med, I didn't get any of that stuff. So, but I stayed on my Tylenol, my Advil. I took my antibiotic as supposed to be and everything. Felt good enough that Friday night, afternoon, we decided, hey, it's Labor Day. let's go head out, get some happy hour up, right?
Yeah.
I know I didn't want to drink any alcohol, but I would still go hang out and have the place we were going has this lobster mac and cheese that will make you not get lobster mac and cheese anywhere else ever again. It is outstandingly delicious. So I knew I was going to have a little half bowl of it, not the whole thing. Eric and I split it. Probably 30, 45 minutes into that, I just realized it was a mistake.
You had overdone it.
Yeah, just that quickly. Just that quickly, I was like, oh, this is not good. And it just went downhill quickly after that. And I did my best to hold out. And at some point, y'all were like, do you need to go home? And so that's what I did. Went home and spent the rest of the night on the couch in pain. Then on Saturday, I did nothing. I literally felt like someone, like I just got in a fight. You ever seen those movies? And the guy's laying down on the street, and he's knocked out, but the people are just going crazy and kicking him on the side anyways. And it's like, it's in so many movies.
Yeah.
And then there's always the one person like, he's down, stop kicking him and all that. That's what I felt like happened the night before. I was in so much pain. I didn't want to do anything. It sucked.
Hearing how you felt Saturday when you called Saturday, it made me feel like I made the right decision and not allowing them to use steel toes when they were kicking you when you were down.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. You know, carbon toes do give a little bit.
They do give a little
Yeah.
bit, yeah.
Yep.
They do. So I was happy that I actually stopped them. And they were like, why are you stopping us? I said, take your steel toes off, switch to some soft-toed shoes, and then continue to take out your frustration with Patrick on him.
And I ended up having a couple days of reprieve and literally just doing nothing, moping around the house. Not even really around the house because I tried not to move as much or as little as I could. And then come Monday, I was starting to get a little stir crazy, a little,
Yeah.
all right, I'm ready to I don't want to go anywhere or do anything. It's funny because that morning I was talking with Eric and I was like, well, it's Labor Day. What are your plans? Because in my head I'm thinking he's going to want to go do something. And I was like, in my head I'm like, I really don't want to. And he was like, I don't know, might go work on the yard some or really just not do anything. And I was like, oh, thank God. I said, because I really don't want to do a single thing. I was feeling good, but I was so scared of getting hurt again.
Yeah.
I did reach out to y'all at some point and asked what y'all were up to. And you said you were going to go for a ride. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I had already resigned to the fact that I'm going to be watching TV and just chilling the rest of the night.
Sure.
Late afternoon, you texted and said, hey, do you want to come over and just hang out on the back porch? And you were going to make the chicken pizzas, which if you saw we had on the Outer Belt, it's one of the videos we made.
We have done that.
A few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to make more of those videos.
Yeah.
But you said you were going to make those.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I can do. Let me go over to their house, hang on the back porch. Y'all were very hospitable. Thank you so much. Very courteous. Didn't make me get up and do a whole lot. So they ended up being a really fun night. It got cold. It got so cold not last night, but Monday night.
Yeah.
It got so cold. It was like freezing outside. I had brought my coat because I saw that it might get cold. I think Eric had to bundle up in
he borrowed a coat.
a coat, and we were just sitting out there just hanging out, trying to relax or whatever. And it just got to the point where it's like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
It's just too cold out
The
here.
fall chill took over.
The fall chill took way over. And I had shorts on. I was not prepared to get that cold. So it's like, all right, now I need to start thinking about if it's 75 degrees outside during the day, it's going to be cold at night. And I need to start planning ahead again.
It was still a good time.
But it was a great time. The food was amazing as always.
Those are good pizzas.
They really were. And
Leftovers were
Damn
good.
delicious for lunch
were
the
they?
day after when they were cold. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. Very good.
That's very cool.
good.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I just the cold, man. I don't know. And then I see, what was it? Wednesday, Thursday, it's 85 degrees again. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold, and it's just.
It's the layer season.
It is.
Start off layered or with a coat, and by the end of the day, you're
Back into a coat.
well, maybe, but not midday. Midday, you're probably back to shirt and shorts. Jerry, how was your Labor Day weekend?
It was good. We Saturday ran some errands, and Sunday cleaned house, and then Monday we jumped in my car and took a ride out to Hocking Hills.
It's beautiful out there.
It's gorgeous.
Really?
Got to put my car in sport mode and
Oh, geez.
get on some roads and had
Nice.
a little fun. And
So do you still have a CDL?
I do. It was a lot of fun. Went on a couple highways out there that I'd never been on, but I seen online that had like a lot of like bike rides, basically.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that should be fun to take my car on. And we got out and walked around for a while and done a little exploring and stopped off at this restaurant called the Old Dutch family restaurant. It's Amish cooking.
Oh yeah.
Mm,
Really?
that's
How
all I
was
gotta
it?
say. Oh my God. It
Were
was-
you compliant with your diet?
Oh God, no. They had these rolls. I swear, one roll was 2 times the size of my fist.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I mean, it was just
Were they soft?
soft and just buttery and like it was just all the food was just good. Don had a open faced turkey sandwich, which is something he loves, and yeah, it was a really good day.
Nice.
Sounds
you
like
like-
we need to take a motorcycle ride.
Sounds like it.
Does.
It's really good, and it
Sounds like
wasn't
it.
expensive at all. It was really
Reasonable.
reasonable. So
Yeah.
That's good. That was down there in Hocking Hills area.
as soon as you enter into that area, I'll have to look it up and give you the directions. But
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
it was a really really good day.
Nice. Are the fall colors turning down there?
There was a few trees that were already starting to turn. We noticed that.
I saw in the news they were talking about the weather, the leaves changing early this year, and if it feels like it shouldn't be changing quite as soon as it is, you're right. It's not supposed to be, but we are having an unprecedented drought. The last time it was this bad was like 1930, 1931, something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I saw where this is the third driest summer in
Yeah.
Columbus.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've still not watered the lawn.
I don't have a lawn.
Yes, you do.
I have a fire hazard.
We all do at this one.
We
I
do,
mean,
but
Really?
we're not
Really?
having any fires out back. It's supposed to rain at some point. Actually, yeah, it's supposed to rain over the
but
next
it's
couple
not.
weeks, but not.
It's not
It's storms.
measurable.
It's just storms. It's just a real quick downpour of a little bit of rain and then
Yep,
moves on.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's not long lasting. It's not a
No.
drench. It's
No.
not a stay here for 3 or 4 days and just gloom and doom.
We don't really get those in Ohio though, but still, we get
Yeah.
more than this usually. It's just crazy dry.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, we had that El Nino, and now we're in the El Nina, and they said it was going to be dry, and boy, they were not lying.
No, they were not lying.
It's crazy
They were not
to
lying.
think that something in the Pacific Ocean can affect us.
Sure.
And it's not even the Pacific Ocean. I mean, it's down by Ecuador. Like, it's way out there.
Yeah.
And that's what's causing us not to have rain. It's just
Well,
bananas.
We're supposed to have a cold, wet winter, so at some point it's going to change, and we'll deal with cold and wet.
Well, cold and wet's better than hot and dry, right?
Sure. No, I'd rather have
Says
hot and
nobody
dry.
ever.
I'd rather have hot and dry.
Yeah. Well, I think we're too woodsy out here to have hot and dry. You're talking about the Amish place. I was watching a video on YouTube, and they were talking about this smorgasbord out in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and it's the world's largest all-you-can-eat buffet. That kind of sounds like a fun time. Is it ridiculous to drive, 8.5 hours just to go to the world's largest all-you-can-eat buffet?
Where do you even
Maybe.
start or stop?
Well, they said that a lot of people will actually come in, they'll pay for the breakfast, and then stay for lunch. But if they do see you're staying for lunch, you do have to re-up. You have to pay for the lunch one. So,
Wow.
but that's what a lot of people do. And I'm like, I guess like if you brought cards and the seats were comfortable, you know what I mean? You could take a nice 2-hour break, and then it's like, I'm going to go out for some more mashed taters or something. I don't know.
A couple rounds of skip.
And then are you? Oh, sorry. And then are you going to do the same foods you normally do, or are you going to try something different out of the smorgasbord?
Well, the fried chicken was by far
oh,
everybody was saying the fried chicken's amazing.
Sure.
Which,
so you get a winglet, so you can have space for all the other food.
well, that looked like half chickens. I mean, it was like, it
wow.
looked like breasts the size of a milk carton. You know what I mean? Like thighs that were gigantic. Legs looked like turkey drumsticks. They looked like
And we're
healthy.
definitely
like
not
healthy
hitting the
chicken.
salad bar. You can skip the salad bar on an all you can eat.
I don't know. I mean, I like to go and get the cheese cubes at this salad bar.
So no lettuce. Just we're gonna.
No, lettuce
select.
is filler.
Eh,
Yeah.
I get it.
I ended up getting the buffet at this restaurant.
Oh, was it a buffet too?
It was, yeah.
And
I skipped all the salad stuff because I knew
You
I
wanted to
wouldn't
try
be
the
able-
good s-
Exactly.
yeah, but you and I eat differently.
Let me tell you though, I didn't even see the dessert table. Don pointed it out to me, And then I was like, okay, I've got to go over there and check it out. Like, it was all like homemade, like Dutch apple pie,
Oh my gosh.
peach pie,
Oh, I didn't think about Amish.
blueberry
Yep.
pie. Then they had like your chocolate cream, strawberry cream, coconut cream, banana cream,
Oh.
and it was all like homemade, like still in the pie tins. Cut it yourself.
Yeah.
It was all really, really good.
Cut it yourself.
Yes.
See, that would be good because then you could do slithers.
You could do like a nice little
Yeah,
piece,
yeah.
or you could just take the whole pie.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, when you go to Golden Corral or Ryan's or Iron Skillet or some of the other buffets around the country, I find the desserts are usually, like, lacking. They're
Yeah.
usually, like, they kind of phone that in.
Yeah.
But I would imagine an Amish restaurant, they didn't. I mean, that's what they're known for, right? And, Amish bakeries, that's, like, the thing. Like the cinnamon
Handmade,
rolls and-
homemade.
yeah.
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 Pastries. Well, sounds like we definitely have a road trip.
Yes.
Thanks
I
for doing the
mean-
intel for us.
Yeah.
It's what, an hour and a half away, 2
Yeah,
hours.
we can
something
take the
like
van.
that. I told Don, I was like, it's worth going back.
Yeah.
It is
Weekly.
Yeah, and the drive is pretty.
gorgeous.
Did y'all hike anything?
We walked around a little bit. We went to like the main area that's got like the welcome center or
Mhm.
something. We walked a little bit, but not much.
Am I the only one who hasn't been out there?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I went. We had a couple drivers, a couple people that used to drive for us. They were really great friends. We still wish them well. They're down in Louisiana. They just got off the road. They don't drive it at all anymore. But they ended up getting married in Logan, which was kind of right in the middle of Hocking Hill area. They invited us to come down for the wedding, so we did, and it was really cool, beautiful area. They were like perched up on top of a hill. And overlooking the surrounding area and everything for the wedding venue and all. It was very, very cool.
Mm.
So I've kind of like seen some of the area. I've just not been to the state park or anything like that. Had a great campfire out there, but it had been raining, so it was fine.
Our
So-
neighbors had a fire last night.
They
A
did.
little one.
No, yeah.
Oh,
Enough
yeah.
to s'more roast.
Last week we talked about the Highfield history, and I understand we're going to continue that.
I think we're calling this the Hyfield origin story.
The Highfield origin story.
Yeah, goes along with the whole Marvel
I like it. That the
DC
yeah.
universe.
So this is
origin story.
this is the HCU, the Highfield
Right.
Cinematic Universe.
Exactly.
Well, last week we talked about our first 6 months out on the road. We're going to pick up with our first year as owner-operators because as we ended up last time, we said that in May 2013 we bought our first truck.
Yes.
And that truck right here, 2008 Kenworth T660. It was a factory sleeper, but it did have the studio sleeper on it. So it was the nicest, pretty much the nicest factory sleeper you can get. Caterpillar C13 engine. Now, if you remember from last week, I said that the truck we were driving for Expeditor Services. We were driving in a Cat C11, which was bulletproof. You couldn't do anything to it. It was a great engine. Truck ran awesome. This is C13. This was the same engine that very first truck we picked up was that made it one whole day with us.
Right.
And then we had to swap it to a different truck. We figured that was just coincidence, right? When we were looking at trucks, we had a choice between an 07 T600 or an 08 T660 from Kenworth. One being the C11, one being the C13. And we actually decided to go with the C13, the 08, because it had a DPF filter on it. At that time, California was requiring you to have a DPF filter to go into their state. If you didn't have it, you couldn't go. So the old C11s, the old T600s, they were no longer California compliant. So we wanted to buy one that we could at least run in and out of California with.
Yeah.
So that's how we ended up making that decision. This truck was a massive piece of crap. I
Aw.
believe that's the affectionate way of putting it, right, Eric?
It was a true blessing.
It was a true blessing. If you're familiar with Caterpillar engines, it was a twin-turbo Ardhead Acert engine,
Oh.
and they were just absolute junk. It is the reason the C13, 2008 and 2009 C13, C15 is the reason Caterpillar quit making on-highway engines. They were so problematic and they cost Caterpillar so much money that they said, you know what? We're done.
Gonna stick to tractors.
Going to stick to tractors and everything else but. So that was the truck we bought. I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we started our business that way, right? Like you can't completely crap on what got you where you're at.
Sure.
However,
Yeah, what were our choices?
yeah.
We didn't
However,
have very many of them.
no, and at the time we were doing some freight that was going in and out of California that we wanted to be able to keep doing. So it wasn't like we just write it out of our business model. Because back then, and if you remember, Kevin Rutherford was saying at the time, write California out of your business model. I don't know if you were paying attention to trucking
wasn't
back then.
then,
Were you?
no.
Okay. So
Not
back
really.
then, he was literally saying, like, these emission systems are terrible for trucks. Don't do it. They're going to cost you a ton of money. Just write that completely out of your business model. And a lot of people did. But with what we were doing, we really didn't feel that was an option. We didn't want to be limited. And we knew we wanted to buy more trucks, and we didn't want to limit our future contractors.
Sure.
So we went ahead and got that truck, and we were like, we'll just deal with it and make it work. The issues started before we even bought the truck. You know, one of those things where you see an ad and it looks great. We go down there, we look at it, and one tire is completely bald.
Of course.
There was no lift gate on that truck. There was no custom sleeper, so a lot of those little issues didn't exist. That is the nice thing about factory sleepers is they are typically a lot easier to maintain.
Sure.
Had a tri-pack on it, Thermo King tri-pack on it, which was a really good APU. It's a great option. We run Thermo King reefer units. Big fan of Thermo King. But we get there, like I said, one tire's bald, completely bald. There's no fuel in the tanks at all, which when you're buying a used truck or our new truck from a dealership, a lot of times a
They'll give
tank
it to
of
you
fuel
Yeah.
is part of the deal.
Right.
They showed the pictures, showed like all the load bars and straps and everything inside the truck. We get there and there's none of that
No,
there.
Of course.
Like just, you know, all that little things like that. I want to say we found maybe some paint defects or I don't, little things like that. So we told them like, you know what, this isn't the right truck for us. And they were like, well, and I had no experience negotiating with dealerships at that point. So they're like, what don't you like about it? Let us know. So I made a whole list. I typed out on Apple Notes on my phone and then put in an email and sent it over to them. And they're like, you know what? We'll take care of all that stuff. Not change price. We'll just take everything.
Wow.
Like, cool. So I get back, you know, one drive tire had been replaced. The one right next to it hadn't. So you got a brand new, you know, 22, 30 seconds
Right.
drive tire next to
an
a
8
30 seconds drive tire. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. At least it's one less tire I have to buy. I'll just buy the other one. No big deal. A few other little things they had taken care of. The truck still had no fuel in it. And they're like, we have it solved. No worries. And I
Oh.
was like, oh, okay, what's that? You remember this, Eric?
I think I do.
So they had one truck parked next to a loading dock,
Yeah.
and they had us drive our truck into the loading dock, so we were lower. And then they siphoned the fuel from the first truck into our truck.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's
They
awesome.
I
didn't
was
even
like,
call to get it fueled.
No, and not even like with a pump. I mean like a hose and
someone had to
suck real
suck on
hard
it?
on it and
Oh my
I
goodness.
remember the guy that had to start that. He had to suck the
Oh,
gas out of the
gosh.
hose
oh
and then
man.
spit it on the ground.
it was it was a riot.
It was something.
Yeah.
So that's our welcome to own truck ownership, right? And then from there, we get the truck, bring it back down to Louisiana, got to do all of our titling and registering, which we'd never done before, didn't know anything about it. At that point, it was actually cheaper for us to register everything ourselves. So like the carriers will do that for you if you want them to. You still have to title it, but they'll do all the registration and handle all that paperwork if you want them to. But if you only have one truck, it's very expensive if you go that route. It's cheaper if you do it yourself. Now, if you have a bunch of trucks, the carriers will typically cut some money off that and help you out, which is what they do now. And so, like, right now, our carriers actually plate for us. But back then, we were getting started, and if you only have one or two trucks, a lot of times it is cheaper to do it yourself.
Wow.
So we did it ourselves, and we're trying to figure it out, and we go to the DMV, and they're like, no, you don't have this paper, and we had to go back and figure something else out. It was a back and forth like
Torture.
crazy.
Welcome to the IRP.
Oh, man, it was a nightmare. But we finally figured it out. We're able to go run. I'm trying to remember. So we had our truck. It was still sitting in Memphis. And so we left Louisiana, drove up to Memphis, and picked up the truck. We'd already done all the siphoning of the fuel and all that stuff, right? Because it was cheaper to drive a car down to
Sure.
Louisiana, do all the paperwork, and come back than it was burn the fuel. When you only have one truck, you're doing that math. You're like trying to figure out like if this is $600 in fuel, but it's a $100 car rental and $45 in fuel. Well, let's rent a car.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
get back, we move in the truck, ready to go, and we were killing some time and drove out to the mall in Memphis, and we were just doing some shopping, killing some time. It was like a Friday, so we knew there was no chance of getting a load until Monday. And lo and behold, we get a phone call in the middle of the mall saying like, "Hey, we have this load for you to pick up. It's an immediate pickup." And at that point, FedEx was saying you had 30 minutes to get there. If you remember that, like,
Yeah.
if you got that call and you accepted it, you had 30 minutes to be there. So Eric and I accepted the load. It goes to Canada. Eric and I are running through the mall like crazy people, trying to get back to the truck, jump in the truck, log in, do the hours of service, all the stuff right, and then go straight to the pickup and then get on the road. Our first load was in a couple hours of picking up our truck. It was
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
That almost never happens. Got started that way. Then had 2 loads back to back. One second load was hazmat. No, second load was to New York City. Third load was hazmat. So we just went ahead and knocked everything out. Canada, New York hazmat, all that stuff out. And had a great time in it for a little while. Everything seemed like it was going to be all right. And
How long's a little while?
a couple months.
Oh, okay.
A couple months of things being
So you
pretty
got more than
good.
3 loads in.
So we got more than 3 loads in. And then our first breakdown wasn't really a breakdown. Our Thermo King quit working. Our tri-pack quit
Okay.
working. Now, when we bought this thing, it had like 20,000 hours on the
Yeah, so it's got some age on
It was tired. So I think the compressor went out or something. So I remember we brought it to a Thermo King down in Florida, and they worked us in, but it was going to be a couple hours. And it was around lunchtime, so Eric and I took off on foot. We found a barbecue restaurant that was like an hour away by foot. So
Wow.
we walked to the barbecue restaurant, and we're in the middle of a swampland, and there's like gators around and stuff, and we're just walk over to the barbecue place and ate, and they got the call there, and then we couldn't figure out how to pay for it because again, when you buy your own truck, they don't give you a lesson in how to do all this stuff. So we knew we had like the fuel card, and we knew that we had more money on the fuel card which we could use for maintenance, but we didn't know how to get that money to the vendor. So we're like at the barbecue restaurant eating, and I'm on the phone with we were working with Expediter Services still, so I'm on the phone with Expediter Services, and I'm like, so how do we do this exactly? Like, how do we get the money from here to them, and what do we, like, just trying to work all that stuff out. Like, it was, now it seems crazy, but when you don't know, you don't
You
know.
don't know.
Yeah.
So going through all that, and then we're like, all right, cool. Got that resolved, got them paid, learned how to use that account properly. We're golden. And then the Caterpillar C13 Ard head shows its true colors.
Oh, no.
So once we finally got, I will speed up real quick and say, the Ard head is a like a 7th injector with a spark plug on it. They take diesel and they throw it into the exhaust, and then they light this little area, combustion chamber, and they actually make your exhaust superheated, so even hotter than it is coming out of the engine. And what that does is helps the diesel particulate filter capture all the particulates and lets only the clean air come out.
Well, that sounds complicated.
It is, and it's not worth a crap. So eventually, we learned the secret is every year you just replace it, whether you think you need it or not. Just like you're doing an oil change, just once a year, replace it. Yes, sir?
Is this during the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they have just the DPF filter like this was before the fuel?
Yes, there was no DEF.
No DEF.
There was
Okay.
no diesel exhaust fluid in this
My
thing.
truck was the same way. Okay.
And so, and some were okay. Like, we had a truck we'll get to later that was a DPF as well, but it didn't have an Ard head. It was a Mercedes-Benz engine, and that thing was flawless.
Will
so
you
this was
spell
just
that word? You're saying it, but I just want to make
Ard?
sure. Yeah.
A-R-D.
Oh, just A-R-D.
Mhm.
Making sure it didn't have an H on it.
Nope,
Okay.
Ard head.
Ard
And-
head.
And so the first time it breaks down, Eric and I were in Albuquerque, and we were on our way to pick up a load, and we didn't make it there to pick it up. We broke down before we got there, so they actually towed us from Oh, help me out here. Okay, so in New Mexico, east of Albuquerque, is it Santa Rosa?
That sounds right.
Yes, that does sound right.
And there's like a truck stop there, but it's not a name brand one. It's an off. It's a mom and pop independent truck stop.
Is it a well-known independent truck stop out there?
I think so.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the place, but I know what you're talking about.
Anyways, so we were broke down there, and they towed us from there and brought us all the way into Albuquerque. Crazy expensive tow. Because if you know, coming from east into Albuquerque, you've got that whole mountain you got to go over and everything. And
Tucumcari and Santa Rosa.
yeah, I don't remember which. It was one of those two. I don't remember which
Yep.
one. So they tow us in, and we get to the Kenworth dealership, and might have been a Cat dealership we got brought to. That was the nice thing about having Caterpillar engine in a Kenworth truck, is you had two different places you can go, either a Caterpillar or a Kenworth.
Nice.
So we bring it to one of the two dealerships, and they get to working on it, and Eric and I check into a hotel. They had like just listed hotels inside the shop, and they had one that the guy recommended, and it was a good little haul away. It was in Old Town Albuquerque, and it was probably 30 minutes away from the dealership or from the shop. Called the guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'll send someone out to come pick you up." I'm like, cool.
From the hotel?
From the hotel. They had a shuttle. Come to find out, the guy that ran the shuttle owns the hotel. It's that kind of small
Yeah.
mom and pop.
Right.
I think it was in a condo lodge, but it had really good reviews. And so we're pretty comfortable with it. So we go out there. This is pre-hotels.com, before all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Back then, you had to go to like Priceline or you
Right.
had to go to like choicehotels.com and book directly through them. And his rate was better than theirs. So we went there. Nice place. Indoor swimming pool, which was great. I remember going there and like actually going swimming a couple times.
Wow.
But even better was it was right next to Old Town Albuquerque. Now, it's like the original Mission, right? Like the original 150-year-old place. That all the shops are Pueblo-style shops, and it's like crafty shops and cafes and really cool, funky vibes.
how
Like
fun.
it was a lot of fun. And I remember we went to one place, a coffee shop. Remember the coffee shop, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Freaking coffee came out in a bowl that looked like a soup bowl. And did it have a heart on it? What did it have on it? I think they did a heart or something in there.
I don't remember what was on it, but I remember it only almost took 2 hands to hold.
It was ridiculous. And I didn't get a coffee. I get espresso like I normally get. And you were like, oh my gosh, you have to try this. So I even tried it, and it was outstanding. Just having a blast. And that's when I think we started taking the name and calling them breakdowncations during that trip.
Breakdowncations.
Yep, because it was like, all right, we're broke down, but we're trying to make the best of it. You know, we're not just sitting in the hotel room losing our mind. We're trying to enjoy what we can out of, something we don't want to be a part of, like making the best out of a bad situation.
Sure.
That was really successful, and they got the truck fixed, and the guy brought us back, and everything was great. Really enjoyed it, and that repair lasted like 3 or 4 months. Maybe
don't
not even that
remember.
long. And then we broke down again in Buffalo.
Same problem?
Same problem.
Oh.
This is before we learned you need to go on their schedule.
Yes. So this one we broke down in Buffalo, got towed to the Kenworth. Now this one was really weird. So on this trip we actually got towed to, and right there, that's a picture of the truck getting towed. Crazy. We actually got towed to, we were loaded, we got towed to the GM engine manufacturer there outside of Buffalo. We had one pallet of pistons. And
Had to come off.
it had to come off, so they just towed us there and had us unloaded there instead of trying to do another swap with another truck.
Sure.
Well, here's the problem. That particular GM plant, well, I guess all of them, are union. And that particular one, part of their union contract says they will not unload a truck that didn't drive in under its own power.
Oh, for Pete's
Wow.
sakes.
Yes.
Wow.
So they wouldn't unload us. And so the managers in their, like not managers, but like the upper managers
The
in their
non-union
suits,
people.
in their literal, like, I was going to say Armani, but probably Dillard's suits.
Sure. Yeah.
They get a pallet jack and like walk inside because we're not allowed to touch the truck because it's a
Right.
union truck,
Yeah.
our union shop. So they actually go in there with their pallet jacks, and they together pallet it or lift it up and pull it out. And then once it's off, then the union guys could touch it.
Oh my goodness.
It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Then the guys towed us over to Kenworth, and we went and stayed at a hotel. I think we rented a car in that time, and it was middle of winter. So that
We
time,
go to Niagara.
not that time. So that time we ended up going to the mall and just hanging around in Buffalo. And the cool thing about that mall is they had an indoor go-kart track. Like they actually had like a racetrack inside the mall.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool, right? And it makes sense because Buffalo gets
Cold.
tons of snow too,
Yeah.
and cold and tons of snow.
Yeah.
So this could be run all year long, and really just had a pretty good time there. That was a pretty quick fix. We were only down for a couple days, and it wasn't the art head. It was when they had replaced the art head, they didn't replace the injector.
Oh,
So all they had to do was replace the injector.
Okay.
So we're out running.
you break
Guess
down
what?
again?
Guess what happens again?
You break down. How many months did you get in between?
Not long. It wasn't long at all, and we broke down again. This time we were at a Caterpillar. The shop got us in and out. No big deal. We were out running a little bit longer and broke down again. This time we broke down in San Antonio, Texas, and Holt Caterpillar in San Antonio got our truck. We ended up getting a hotel near downtown San Antonio. At that point, I discovered Hotwire.
Okay.
Oh,
Hotwire.com. And so I was going online because we broke down so much. I started learning things. So I went on there and found a hotel for like $53 a night, and it got us really close to downtown San Antonio, and we were able to just walk over to the Riverwalk.
Oh, cool.
And that's why we did our breakdowncation that time was at the Riverwalk in San Antonio. Which have y'all been to the Riverwalk in San Antonio?
Yes.
Have you?
No.
it was good.
It's
Yeah.
really fun. It's really cool. The river makes like a giant square in downtown San Antonio, and it's below grade, right? Like
Mhm.
it's kind
It
of
is.
it's like a floor down, if you can imagine,
Yeah.
from the main street. And they got lush trees, and it's all well manicured. And there's restaurants and shops,
Yep,
and there's
there
a
was.
big mall on one corner of it, and it's a fun way to like kill a couple nights walking around and seeing things. I know we've been. Oh, it was that trip actually, and we went to the piano bar they had,
I can't remember the name of
How
it.
did we
can't
miss
remember the
the
name of it
piano
either.
bar?
but it's a dueling piano bar there.
It may not have been
Howl
there
at the
anymore.
Moon.
Yeah.
Was it Howl at the Moon? I think it was Howl at the
Moon.
Moon. So we went to that piano bar and had a great time. Like again, just how do you make the best of a bad situation? Because
Yeah.
now at this point we're pissed. Like, we broke down for the same issue 4 times. A couple days later, Holt calls us, gets out of the shop. They replaced the art head under warranty. So the art head had gone bad again.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Replaced under warranty, replaced the injector, and replaced the combustion tube. So all we had to pay for was a combustion tube, but everything else was covered under warranty. Got us back on the road. That being said, they actually fixed us. So replacing all of that actually put us in a spot where we were good to go. We didn't know that. Because hindsight's 2020.
Sure.
We were terrified of this truck. So every time we were driving somewhere, we're just like, please don't break down. Please don't break down. Please don't break down. Ended up in Washington State, got a load offered to Alaska. And I know, Jerry, you've done the Alaska load. They
Mhm.
call you and they say, we have a blank check. What will it take for you to go to Alaska?
Pretty much.
And we said, nothing. I won't do it. Because we had broke down so many times with the exact same
Oh.
issue that we were like, we just can't take the risk. I don't know what a tow in Alaska, a tow in Canada would be like. That'd be a nightmare. Can
If
you
it's
imagine?
even possible.
If it's being in the
Yeah.
middle of all that and then have it. So we passed on it entirely. Again, in hindsight, the truck never broke down again. Like from
Oh.
that point, Holt was the one that told us every year replace the art head and everything, and we did, and never had an issue with that again. Like
you
so
missed out on it.
frustrating. So we missed out on Alaska. We didn't have to, but we were so scared of the truck.
Yeah,
that-
as you should be.
We didn't know what to do. So, and that was our only opportunity to go to Alaska, and we missed it.
And again, hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight's
You
2020.
could have broke down.
Could have broken down. Didn't know what was going on.
And the
Was
story
very
would have been
nervous.
different.
Very different. So,
Yeah.
we actually
Was there a point where you thought you were going to throw your hands up and towel in? And
there was. So about a year in, we were pretty frustrated
With the truck.
with the truck, and so we actually reached out to the dealership and said, hey, we see you have some other trucks in your lot. We would be very interested in trading this thing in and buying another truck, right? Like, we're not going to try to do whatever. We want to keep in business. We're not throwing our hands in the towel, or throwing your hands up and getting out of the business.
Sure.
We just need a different truck.
Right.
Talked with them and kind of explained our situation. They said, we can't take it back on trade. That's not our dealership's model. But what we can do is, if you want to, you can buy another truck, because 2 trucks running is a little safer of model. If you have people to drive it, 2 trucks driving is a little safer, because when one's down, you can kind of pay for the other, right?
Ah.
So we're like, all right, well, it's something we want to do anyways. Is have a fleet of trucks. So this does go towards that particular goal. And at that point, we had pretty much knocked most of the issues out of that truck, and we were doing decent. Still nervous, but doing decent. And so they invited us out for an event they were doing in April of 2014. And we went out there, and they showed us a truck, and we were kind of the only ones interested in it. And so we made an offer and ended up buying that particular truck.
Wow.
And that brought us to 2 units. That was our first year driving.
Wow. That'd be frustrating. I could see
It was scary.
parking it and walking away, or I mean, how frustrating.
Yeah, it was frustrating. It was scary. We, spent a ton of money because we had to put a big down payment on it, and then we got this big loan that we didn't know. We were high risk and all this stuff, so like, we're paying a good sized interest rate, and just the not knowing, and then the constant breakdowns is the lost revenue, the additional cost of repairing the truck, and all the stuff. Like,
And you're still paying the note while the truck's in the shop.
you're still paying the note while the truck's in the shop, still paying the insurance, still paying the Qualcomm fees. Now we're paying for our own hotel stays,
Right.
our food, everything. So it was a lot of, like, we made more money, sure, because we owned the truck, but it was a lot more expense because of the constant breakdowns.
Right. Yeah.
And so getting the truck fixed, that truck, we did actually end up a couple years, like 3 years later. I will go ahead and speed up and say we had to have the entire engine rebuilt. And so we did that and ran it for another year, and then we sold it.
Wow.
So it's no longer in our fleet, but we did actually rebuild the engine to extend its life a little bit longer and then send it on its way. It was scary. That first year was.
Wow. What a risk.
It was. It definitely opened my eyes to, like, as an owner-operator, it's such a high risk. Such a high risk. And I understand now why so many owner-operators don't make it.
Oh, I imagine.
And it was only because Eric's, our CFO, and he is extremely conservative with the money. And we lived in that truck. We actually, during that time, once we bought that truck, we actually, we had 2 houses at that point, Eric's house and my house, and we put both of them up for rent. And sold all of the furniture, sold everything. If it couldn't,
Sold our vehicles.
sold our vehicles. If it couldn't be stored safely, and by that I mean, like, in South Louisiana, it's very humid. So if you store something in a like wood furniture in a storage unit, if it's not climate controlled, it's going to warp and
Sure.
be trashed.
Oh.
So if it couldn't be stored safely, then we just sold it. So we got rid of a lot of stuff.
Sure.
We kept. I have a metal and glass shelving unit. We kept that. Like, there's no risk there, right? It's not going to get hot and warp. We kept knickknacks that were personal, that the life mementos and stuff
Sure.
that you don't want to lose. Kept a bunch of that stuff. But everything else went fire sale. Just got rid of everything. And we lived on the truck. When we came back to Baton Rouge, we'd see our families. A lot of times we'd park in Denham Springs, Louisiana. If y'all know, there's a pilot there. It's a ratty, terrible, nasty pilot. We would park there, and a lot of times my mom and dad would come over, and they would drop us off one of their vehicles, and we'd have that to drive around. Or if they needed both vehicles, we'd rent a car at Enterprise, and that'd be how we'd get around. But we'd still sleep and live in that truck, and that's how we got started. We did that for a while.
How long were you in that truck for? I don't want to speed your story up, but just curious.
We will talk about that next week.
Fantastic.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Because buying that second truck, a lot of things changed.
Yeah. How many years total, though? I know you could answer me that because you said you sold it after
So
you
we
refurbished it.
we had that truck for 4 years.
4.
4
Okay.
years. Yep.
Okay.
And then got rid of it.
Yeah.
No. Yes, 4 years. That's right.
Okay.
Because we paid the loan off and then we sold it. Yep. And that was a 4-year loan.
Okay.
It's funny, the things you use in your mind to like help you
Yeah.
remember things.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Wow.
But we sold that thing with 800 or 900,000 miles on it. Almost, it was just under 900,000 miles. We put a good amount of work on it.
All the things you had to learn for like a first timer, like you said, the EFS card and how to get the money from point A to point B, or
Absolutely.
you know, as a bigger company now with employees, I think you make that pretty streamlined and easy with the maintenance guys and to pay for things.
Absolutely. And we don't even use some of those original companies. Like the original company was T-Check. Everything was phone-based. Today we use EFS, which is internet-based.
Yeah.
You know, like the tolls. What do you do for tolls? We have Best Pass now, which covers every toll in the nation except for like a very few odd and end ones. Back then, you had to have 5 trucks to buy a Best Pass. So,
Ooh.
yeah. So we actually like had to grow into that.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
yeah.
there were just a bunch of little things. We used to send out the envelope or the zipper pouch, you know, like the banker's zipper
Yeah.
pouch with $100 something like that cash in there, and they would have to send us the receipts. And then whenever that emptied out, then we had to issue them a new T-check to be able to get more money to fill that up. Like that was for tolls. That's how it was way back in the day. You've had to do something like that, didn't you, when you were driving? Because your toll
Well-
transponder didn't cover everything,
No, it didn't.
especially not California or Texas.
I always worked on the 60-40 split though, where I got 60% and I paid fuel
And tolls.
and tolls. So
Gotcha.
the T-check card was mine. All the money that went on there, because FedEx would give you
45%.
45% at the start of the load. So as soon as we picked up the load and did our departure call, well, as we were pulling out, whoever was in the passenger seat called it in and got our 45%, and all that money was mine.
Yeah.
So
I always thought that was crazy that they did it that way, because our fuel program that we were using, it paid the fuel once you delivered your load, which means we also had to self-fund those first tanks of diesel because
Oh,
we didn't
wow.
Oh,
have
you
any
just
money in
weren't
the
going
account.
around siphoning?
No, we weren't. No, that was the one and done at the dealership, and we didn't do that. The dealership did. I talked to FedEx. I've talked to so many owners, and I know you experience it too, where you get a load, they upload your fuel card, and the load cancels, and then talking to FedEx about what happened when people would already have used that money, and just all the insanity that came with that. That blew me away that FedEx did that.
I never ran into that problem though, because we would always have the freight on the truck before I did the advance. And if something happened to where we broke down and lost the
Oh, that's right, because you had to request it back then, didn't
Yeah.
you? Oh, yeah.
you had to request on the C-Link.
Yeah.
And you could not request it until you did your departure call.
See, with our fuel program, it was automatic. So as soon as you sent your proof of delivery in, it automatically went in.
And if you were
Interesting.
even a half a cent off on the C-Link, it would not give you the money.
Wow.
Like you would always have to look at the decimals and try to get as close as you can, because that was my money. I didn't want that going to the owner, so I wanted as much as I could get. Every penny counted because that went to my pocket, you know.
Right. Wow.
Like all the T-check, I was in charge of all that. Like every week we had to,
Reconcile it. And
yeah, me and my co-driver at the time, we would split everything. We had to make sure we left enough money on there for fuel and all that stuff, and we would write ourselves T-checks and deposit it into our checking account.
man, I've talked to
Boy, those
so
are the
many-
days.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I've talked to so many fleet owners who had that model back then, because pretty much now almost nobody does. And it's because so many of them talked about irresponsible
Mm.
teams. Like, you get that money upload, we deposit all of it into our account, and then, we have to deadhead 600 miles to pick up our next load? Well, the truck's on a quarter tank of diesel.
Yep.
How are we going to get there? And so the fleet owner ended up loaning them money and then having to get it back, and it was a disaster.
Oh.
It's a lot of fleet owners. That was very, very, very common back in the day, and it's completely changed now because of that stuff.
I bet.
Oh, the good old days. So, but yeah, so for us, when we bought our truck, that was our first time paying for fuel. So we had to learn all that stuff and then learn where to get fuel. And I'm telling you, the first year, we were very like, if Pilot's close and convenient, we'll get it at Pilot. If Love's is convenient, we'll get it at Love's. If TA is convenient, we'll get it at TA.
Mm.
Because we didn't really understand. We knew they had a fuel discount, but what what's 2 or 3 pennies, right? Like, who cares? And then it literally was into a year, and they were like, it's like 60 cents to $1 a gallon. It's like, oh, that's huge. So you're telling me every single fill up is between $50 to $100 savings by using Loves?
Wow.
Every single fill up. So
that adds up.
that adds up fast. So a lot of learning on our end.
FedEx used they're partnered with TA.
Yes.
Their biggest discount. So we would actually have a sheet of every single TA in the nation, and we had a phone number that we would call, and along our route we would call all the TAs that we knew that we would be within stopping distance of, and we would find out which one had the biggest discount because they were all different.
Yes.
And so once we figured that out, then we knew whoever was getting up to drive, okay, this is going to be your fuel stop. This is going to be your fuel stop. Because it could be, just like you said, anywhere from 42 cents off to 70 cents off. So
Were
Yeah,
you
and
using like the quarter system to make your phone calls, or did you have cell phones in?
I had a cell phone back then, but it was way before iPhones or anything. It was a regular old flip phone,
Okay.
dumb phone. But yeah, we would sit there and I'd make the phone calls, and
Wow.
I had to do that on every TA to find out who had the cheapest because you didn't know.
Oh, that's rough. I like so we don't use Panther's fuel discount system, but every single day Panther sends an email
Sends
out
an email. Yeah.
I get it.
of the fuel
that's right.
discounts.
Yep.
So you can quickly just see like, all right, along my way, here's this. And TA Petro, they're tricky. Like you said, the discounts do vary quite a bit. At Love's, they vary a little bit, not a lot, but it does vary from location to location because it's based on when did they buy their diesel and all that stuff, right? What refinery they're getting from, etc. But for the most part, they're pretty close to each other. TA has franchise stores, and those franchise TAs and those franchise Petros give you like a nickel, as opposed to a regular discount, which would give you 35 to 40 or 50 cents. I can think of the classic example I've always used was outside of Kansas City. Is it the Kinley 95? No, not the Kinley. I'm sorry. The Jop 70 is not Joplin. It's
Highway 80?
no, it's on I-70 heading to Kansas City. What is Oak Grove?
Yep.
Is it the Oak Grove
Yep.
70?
Yep.
Oak Grove 70, that's right there. Right across, it's a Petro right across the street from it's a TA. The TA is corporate owned, gives you a good discount. The 70, which is Iowa 80 owned, gives you a nickel.
Ooh.
But you wouldn't know that because the retail prices are the exact
Right.
same. And if you're just thinking like, well, I get a TA Petro discount, let me go to this one because it's a nicer store, but it's actually a franchise. They don't give you that discount. So
Sneaky.
but TA and Petro, they're not always that obvious. Sometimes it just looks like a TA, but it's really Jim Bob's TA. So that one's really tricky with TA Petro because I did catch some of that stuff once we started actually paying attention. Because sometimes TA fuel is the same price as Love's, and so I know some of our teams like to get TA when they can. Not so much now, but definitely back in the day when TA had nicer showers.
Mm-hmm.
These days, I think it's completely flipped the opposite direction. Love's has the nicer showers. But back then, you would get teams that would mostly fill up at Love's, and then they would grab a TA fill up here and again to get the nicer showers.
Nice.
So they would pay attention to those prices, but that's gone
my
away.
my trucking days was only TA back then before they bought out Petro and
Oh,
they
yeah.
merged. So yeah, it was a lot different to only go to TA and the showers, like you said,
Yeah.
and I remember whenever they did merge, we were just so elated and excited because we were just like, yes, there's like so many more places we can stop.
I can imagine TA by itself is a small.
Yeah,
It's pretty small. TA Petro is a good size, but TA period, they're pretty small. And the Petros, I don't. Again, by the time I came around, it wasn't this way anymore. But the Petro travel plazas are massive. If you walk into a Petro, if you've never driven or really paid attention, you go into a Petro. A lot of the older Petros are huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like hallways. They almost feel like a mall on the inside. Now it's mostly nothing. It's mostly vacant. But back in the day, those used to be like barbershops
Yep.
and CB radio places and
way better food.
way better food and all kinds of stuff. So the Petros used to be super, super nice. Like basically a trucker mall that you can get stuff done.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. It's kind of gone away, but
Are they the ones that have the chapels outside? What was the ones
a
that
lot of
always
them do.
yeah.
Yeah,
had
Yeah.
the chapel and
TA,
where you can get your DOT medical card here? They always had like
Yeah.
a trailer outside.
TA and Petra mostly have those little chapels outside.
Yeah.
I always like those because they always had those old like GMC Astro cab over trucks and stuff from like '74, and you look at the thing and you're like, that's pretty, but there's no way that engine will crank if you go try it.
Well, these days it's just the trailer. There's no longer a tractor attached to
They
it.
got rid of the
Yeah,
tractors.
it's just a trailer.
They're like, they probably realized all those tractors are collector's items
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
and each one is like $100,000 sitting there. They could sell
Yeah,
them
they can
all
sell
off
'em-
and
sell them to do the Lord's work with the
do
money.
the Lord's work.
It
That's right.
just it's a different time and era for sure. I mean, even your era, you're talking a T-check and dialing a zillion phone numbers to find cheapest fuel, and just very different in a very short period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think back to being a kid. I remember going. My dad's best friend and was Benny. We went to high school together, and Benny became a truck driver. Going to the Pilot in Denham Springs back in the early '90s. That was an old Freightliner cab over. Like I remember sitting on the hump.
Yeah, you've talked about that truck.
Freezing cold, like so cold in there. But anyways, going into the Pilot. And a lot of times you still see them. The backside of the old Pilots, a lot of them have like a glass domed, like atrium looking area with some tables set up. And now they usually have just trash back there, or it's overflow stock and
Right.
whatever. But that used to be, I don't know if you remember this or not, Jerry. It used to be where they had the tables set up, and each table had a phone.
Oh yeah.
And that's where independent truck drivers would book their loads.
Yeah,
And I remember him talking about like going into there and saying, I'm not leaving this station until I get $1 a mile. Because back then that was really good money.
yeah.
And so that was his like, I need $1 a mile. And he would stay by that phone. He'd drink coffee. Other people would be sitting there chatting with them, It was real community based. And, now those don't exist anymore. Or if you ever do go to a truck stop and you're like, why is there a phone outlet? Not a phone, but a phone outlet at every
Yeah.
table. It's a remnant of that world.
When I first started driving, I didn't have a cell phone. And I was just like my mom. We would buy the prepaid phone cards.
Yeah.
And so that way you could sit there at your dinner table or whatever and make your phone calls and call home and talk to everybody. And
Wow, technology, love it.
Yeah, I always had the phone, but when we did start driving, I had the nights and weekend plan. That was free. So I remember like did a lot of phone calls at night, and during the day it was strictly work. That's all changed now.
Nights and weekends.
Absolutely.
I remember
or,
that plan.
Or their friends and family. You had a list
No.
of like 5 people that you could call anytime.
We did have the Friends and Family was out by 2012. I think Friends and Family was already out. So I did have that. I could call my mom and I could call a couple other people. But
Were you on that plan? Nights and weekends, Vincent?
Yeah.
I remember being like, I bought an iPhone when they first came out in 2007. And I'd always been on that kind of situation. Eric had a prepaid phone when we went out on the road. He every month he paid his $40 or whatever it was and kept his phone going that way. And I'd never had a phone like that. I'd only ever had a contract phone. So I remember even just being out on the road when we first got started, like just between him and I, that being different.
Yeah.
And now, back then prepaid phones were like, I don't know, like they work some places and not others, and it's kind of a pain. And now the prepaid phones are actually nice. What Mint Mobile and all these other companies are doing is night and day better than what it used to be.
Sure.
So
Sure.
it's very interesting to see how that end of the industry has changed so much and really made it a lot easier and better for drivers out there. Same with, I think, the chapels. I don't think the chapels in the truck stops are as prevalent anymore because a lot of people that do want to have worship on Sunday morning can do it from their phone, from their laptop.
Yeah, most churches are streaming
Yeah.
live, so you can just get your home church.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Yeah. I see it on Sunday when I'm strolling through Facebook. I'll see like 3 or 4 people I know, like your kid's one of them, but other people I know that they're posting their church's sermons and
Live streams.
services.
Yep,
on,
for
on
Sunday
there.
service.
So it's not nearly as confined or restrained as it used to be. Now
Yeah.
there's lots of options.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, are the Amazon boxes becoming more and more prevalent at truck stops?
Oh,
They
yeah.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
They really are.
I knew they were starting when we got off the road, but like very few.
Yeah. They really are. There's tons of them.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons. I mean, I'm sure it's a contributing factor to why the full service truck stops kind of disappearing slowly. Because you can just have stuff shipped there
Sure.
and pick it up. Interesting.
Well, and you also have Uber. Like, you can take an Uber and go get yourself a haircut,
True.
right?
Yeah.
As opposed to going in and getting the haircut.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not stuck to that one person selling $35 haircuts.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear it too. I have to say, like, I've not heard a lot of this, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to talking more and more about it as we go. We have we're only in 2014. We still have a decade to get through.
Wow.
So that should take us at least 10 more episodes?
At least 10 more years.
10 more years.
A decade.
So-
Wow.
Lots of things coming, y'all. We're just now starting our fleet. I mean, we already bought one truck and we were owner operators, and next week we become fleet owners, and that's a whole new can of wax.
Just say,
It gets exciting now.
little teaser, we've had to replace more than one engine. We've got an interesting story on why we had to do the second one.
Wow.
So
That was not mechanical.
no, that was
issue
not mechanical
from the
issue.
dealer.
That was that was
That was a
an,
personal
was
issue.
an ID 10T problem. So
It was not me and it was not Patrick. I will say that.
yeah, no, it was fun times back then. But anyways, if there's anything else y'all want to hear about, talk about,
Yeah.
let us know.
Leave a comment down below. Shoot us an email at theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com.
Which is again
Theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com.
and what happens if they send an email there?
Somebody will respond to the email. I don't have access to the email, but somebody will.
Somebody will respond.
We
You
need, to
leave
look, we need to look into
comments.
that, don't we?
Someone will respond.
Go put up that email address.
You
There's
can text live.
37 emails.
Where can you
in there.
text live from?
If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, there is a text link down in the show notes. So click that, and that will go to me, and I'll respond to you.
Nice.
Leave a comment down below. Hit thumbs up.
Thumbs down.
Subscribe if you would like to hear more. Share this to all your friends and family. It's a lot of great information out there.
Absolutely. And it's something we've requested. People want to know a little more about us, more how we got to where we are. I think if you're a current contractor driver with Highfield, it's a little bit of a behind the scenes of why we do the things we do. If you're not and you're curious how we got where we're at, or you're another fleet owner and you're going like, hey, how do they have as many trucks as they do? Here's the story. We're giving you all the data.
Blood, sweat, tears, and art heads.
Yeah, it's been a fun story. It's been a fun ride, and we don't really get a chance to talk about this part of our business too much. So it's kind of fun reliving these old memories.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for everything y'all do. Everybody, y'all stay safe out there. Make good decisions.
Don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.